Alright, so I'm going to do a bit of a reaction and a review of a Flat Earthers video. This is a collaboration between Southern Africa and By the Dip. And we'll kind of point out a few things they got completely wrong and where they just kind of keep to their Flat Earth script without actually looking at an investigation or doing any kind of rational thinking. Let's have a look.
Technically, if you have a helicopter, right, and you lift off the surface of the earth, right, you go up, it hovers above, and then when you go down, it should land on a different spot. It should be on a different spot.
And this is one thing that Flat Earthers like to try to bring up all the time, to try to disprove the rotation of the Earth. And they bring up helicopters. But I don't know if they just don't realize or they refuse to accept that helicopters have control surfaces. And they actually have a pilot that sits in there and they have controls. And it's actually very, very fine tuning and a lot of skill and effort to take to be able to fly a helicopter without it doing some really bad stuff and ending up in going into the ground at a very quick rate of speed due to gravity. So when they say this about hovering, they should land somewhere else. Now, the pilot, for one, can control and keep that where they want to keep it. So any kind of wind, any kind of movement, any kind of disturbance in the atmosphere, they're going to account for it automatically, right? They're looking out across the horizon and they're watching and they're orienting themselves and keeping themselves going to stay where they want to stay. So that's for one. Even if it was the case that the Earth is moving below, the helicopter pilot would automatically account for that because we're talking 15 degrees per hour, which is very, very slow. Do 15 degrees in 1 hour. Stand, look forward, and turn yourself at 15 degrees. It would take an hour to do it. And see how fast that really is, and see if a helicopter pilot can account for that.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. To realise that we are not on an imaginary spinning ball Earth, we just have to look at real-life examples such as a helicopter taking off from a moving surface. While the helicopter is on the aircraft carrier, which represents a moving Earth, the helicopter and ship are moving along as one. But the moment the helicopter takes off vertically from the carrier, it becomes free and independent of the boat. It is now hovering in the air and the boat will carry on, leaving the helicopter behind. Defenders of the globe will now argue that the atmosphere sticks to the globe as it spins, and spins with the Earth. But this is just a ridiculous notion and easily debunked when we just look at the way that winds can travel in all directions, flowing freely across the surface of the Earth.
Alright, so he wanted to use real-world examples to try to prove his point, and then used a cartoon drawing and a very cheap animation. They didn't actually show any real-world examples. Don't worry, By Dip. I got you covered. It seems that Sea King helicopter had no problem hovering above that ship there. Wonder why? Well, this is quite easy. You see, in the reference frame between the ship and the helicopter's not moving. So, in relation to that, the helicopter can hover above the ship and not even look like it's moving at all, as you see in my example there. Our real world example, and not some animation that actually doesn't show anything to do with reality. But let's address what his example about the aircraft carrier and a helicopter taking off from that. Now, if you actually think about it here, let's just say the helicopter starts off the aircraft carrier. Aircraft carriers go to say 10 knots. Now, starting off, it's already technically in relation to the Earth and the ocean that helicopter, the aircraft carrier, and everything on it is traveling at 10 knots, right? If it wasn't, it'd fall off the back. So it's all traveling at 10 knots. Now when the helicopter takes off, it has already started out at that 10 knots. So like you see, we're walking along, if I'm walking along here, and for example, got my keys. Then I throw my keys up in the air. Yeah. I'm walking along, the keys didn't fly backwards, none did they? And that's because they already started out at my walking speed and continued on at that while I'm working forward. Now, as you can see, while I'm heading along, I'm doing, say, 2 miles an hour. That vehicle is going past me at 30 miles an hour. So your reference frame, he's doing 28 miles an hour. Between me and him. Between me and the road, I'm doing 2 miles an hour. Roads are moving in relation to me. I'm on and using the air, the earth, to propel myself forward. Now something called friction. And friction works on the atmosphere as well. The earth has mass. The atmosphere has mass. The earth has gravity. And gravity affects mass. The mass tracking mass. And it's a proven fact done through countless scientific experiments, calculations, and it's provable, demonstrable, and empirical. If try to claim something else, but everything they claim could be easily debunked and accounted for. It already has been. So, when the aircraft, back to the helicopter, when a helicopter takes off, in reference to the ship, since the helicopter's already started off at 10 knots an hour, when it takes off, all it has to do is simply hover and maintain that, which easily can do because the pilot is in there, and he has control surfaces, and all he has to do is just simply maintain his orientation to the ship. In relation to the ship, the helicopter's not moving, it's hovering above the ship, it's hovering in one spot. If you're standing on the deck and look straight up, like my example I just showed you, the helicopter's staying in one spot. Being in reference to the ocean and the earth, helicopter and the ship are both traveling at 10 knots. This is something that flippers can't see and understand. So as it comes down to wind, it has nothing to do with the earth and the rotation of the earth. Remember, the atmosphere, this is provable, demonstrable, is moving with the earth. This is done through using friction, gravity, acts on matter, on mass. Atmosphere has mass, is full of matter. It pulls it around. Now wind is down to high and low pressure centers. As the sun heats up part of the atmosphere, the air gets hotter, the pressure drops down lower, and the low pressure center moves into higher pressure center. So you can have high and low pressure centers in the atmosphere. This creates wind. It's the movement of the denser air into a less denser area to equalize the pressure. So that flips going on all the time about we can't have high and low pressure or something like that without a container, blah blah blah. But we have a force. The force acts like a container in a way. We have gravity and it holds atmosphere and everything to it. It contains it. If we didn't have gravity, it'd all fly off out into space, just disperse, and we all would die, and everything would die on the whole Earth. But that doesn't happen. But we have a force that holds everything to it, everything's moving together, and then causing a higher and lower pressure center, you can move the air from one side to another. Flat earthers are trying to not this, but this is once again meteorological proof, evidence done through science, and people actually know what they're talking about. So his proof actually means nothing. In fact, if we didn't have gravity to help hold the atmosphere to the earth, because of that, if there's no gravity, we'd actually have an upward wind because the air that's down here would want to go towards the lesser dense medium above us, and it would actually fly up. So we actually would have a upward wind around the whole entire planet because you'd be wanting to move on and move up. We actually do lose part of our atmosphere every single day we actually lose like hundreds, if not millions of tons every single year of our atmosphere gets lost to space. Because as you go up in altitude, you get less and less air pressure, and that's pressure gradient, and that is down to the fact that as you're moving away from the Earth, then gravity is proportional to how the closer you are. Now, the mass attracting mass is closer, you're going to have more of a drop, and as you move away, so when you get really high up, there's less gravitational force there. It's going to hold those little tiny air molecules, and so we do lose some go off into space, and that's why our atmosphere goes gradually less and less and less and less and less and less and less. And they do say sometimes the moon is in our atmosphere, technically, because there is some atmosphere. Some of our atmosphere is detected way out 250,000 miles away, out towards the moon. It's obviously pretty much nothing, where we're talking like a particle here or there, but that's what sometimes we'll say the moon's in our atmosphere, because our atmosphere actually kind of stretches if you're going down to like individual molecules that stretch out to that point. But it's the amount is so negligible. It's, they consider after 100 miles or so the Kármán line is considered space, because our atmosphere is that thin, and that we had to set something somewhere, so that's what they did. But yeah, so we actually do lose part of our atmosphere to space every single day. We lose millions of tons of atmosphere, but it is replaced through thermal geological events. You obviously are trees and fauna and stuff like that to actually converts the carbon monoxide back to oxygen, and it's released. So it's kind of a continuous cycle. We lose some, but it's replaced. So I think a lot of flat earthers think that flying a helicopter is like flying their toy drone that they have. You throttle up a little bit, it takes off, sits there and hovers, and then you fly around and then let go of the controls, and it just hovers in one spot. That's not the case, and I'll kind of show you. This video I'm going to show you here, a fella is, I think he says in the description, it's his first like flying lesson in a helicopter, with the instructor sitting beside him, and it's obviously a helicopter that's designed for been modified a bit for instruction and stuff like that. So have a look and watch and see. You tell me, does this look like it's an easy thing to do? As easy as your little DCI drone that you bought at the local electronics store? No, for anybody who doesn't know, and I've spoke to a few pilots, and there's a fella who is a helicopter pilot that I used to speak to all the time at work when I was a lot younger. Now, to fly a helicopter, you actually have three different things you have to all be kind of balancing at the same time. You have your right hand, like a joystick, which controls your forward and backwards, left and right. If you're facing, like, so you can go forward, backwards, left or right. You have your pedals, which control the tail rudder. It controls you going which way you're facing, as well as you have your left hand, in this case this fella here, and you pull up and down, and it controls you up and down. So you have to control all three of those at the same time. So literally every single appendage you have is doing something separately all at the same time, and it has you balanced to maintain that aircraft on any kind of heading. If one thing's a little bit off, the aircraft is going to be all over the place. You'll see in this video here in a second.
So the feet control heading. That's where the aircraft points to.
Okay.
So the helicopter naturally wants to turn to the right. So just constant left pressure. All right. So you have the pedals.
Yeah.
You have the pedals. So I'm going to move the aircraft to the right using the cyclic, while you're keeping the nose of the aircraft pointed straight with the pedals.
Okay.
And the altitude, the height above the ground here, that's all at the clock. So let's do a complete, let's turn 90 degrees to the left. Alright, keep your eyes outside, nice and, not too far though. How far is 90 degrees here?
Oh, 90 degrees. I thought we were going
okay. You have control, you have the pedals?
Yeah.
Alright, you have the pedals. There we go. Let's point right down the runway here. Let's turn another 90 degrees to the left. Keep your eyes out nice and relaxed. Tail is clear. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. And you're going to have
small corrections.
and you're going to have to as the wind hits it at different angles, you're going to have to fight. Like right now, you can't just sit there with one spot.
Yeah.
So right now, we got a left crosswind. That's the hardest spot to have. So you have the pedals again?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just point down the runway. How about that?
I got that wind does fight you, don't it?
Yep. Easy on the feet there. Easy. Just think of your little kid. Just fairly nice light pressures. Don't push on your right foot. Just let off on the left foot if you want to turn to the right. Okay, now I want you to take the collective and the pedals. So the collective up and down at this point. It doesn't control going forward or backwards, but in a hover, all the collective does is go up or down.
Okay.
Okay? So you have the collective and the pedals?
Yeah.
Alrighty, you do. Keep your eyes out, nice and relaxed. Nice light pressures, don't choke the throttle there. There you go, doing a good job, doing good. Controls?
Okay. You have the controls?
I have all the controls. Now let's do this. Tail's clear left. I'm going to point you into the wind. Now you're going to get the mother of all controls. Which one do you think that is? The cyclic. Okay, but I still want you to be on the other controls, but your primary control is the cyclic. I'll still have to take control of the collective and pedals, but I want your focus. You're responsible for the cyclic. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. You have the cyclic?
I have the cyclic.
All right. You have the cyclic, and the controls are heavy, but it's an Astro.
Ooh.
Yep. Just relax. You're talking. Look at. I have all controls real quick.
Okay.
Look at me when I'm flying. Look how little I'm moving it.
Okay.
That nose level. Yep.
Yeah.
A little forward here. I'm going to get on here just a little bit. The sooner we can correct for these big attitude changes, the less of an aggressive action we'll have to do.
Okay.
So you have cyclic.
I have the cyclic.
You have the cyclic.
Yeah. It don't take much to get off.
No, it doesn't. No,
once it takes it, boom, you're gone.
Yep. Okay, now I want you to do something here. You're going to take all the controls. That may seem ridiculous, but some people do even better with all three than just with one. Okay, so we'll see where we're at. So we're going to bring you up a little bit. You have all the controls?
I have all the controls.
You have all the controls. Just relax. Just relax. Just relax. Yep. Okay. You have all the controls.
I have all the controls.
You have all the controls. Don't give up. Don't give up. How you doing?
So.
Just relax.
This is the hardest.
Yep. And that's the most sensitive. So just force yourself. Just relax that grip. Don't let yourself start getting tense. If you need to talk. Do you have all the controls?
I have all the controls.
You have all the controls. There you go. I mean, you're flying. This is 100% you. All right, we're going to come back around here.
You have the control.
Right, I have control. Now we got a lot more room. Just relax. You got it. Your eyes out. You're looking down.
Yeah.
You're looking. Okay. All right. We're gonna get restabilized here. I want you, and that's what most people when they start doing bad. Guess what? Guess where their eyes are? They're down. So make sure you keep your eyes out.
Okay.
Meaning at least 50, 80, 100 feet. For me, learning, I'd probably see those three.
I thought I was looking at.
There you go. That's not what you were looking at. When I caught, did you?
No, I was looking at.
Okay.
No, that's what I said. I was looking at right now.
Okay.
They had an A sign out there.
All right. You have controls.
I have controls.
And by the way, never let go of the controls.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You have all the controls. Ooh, maybe a little tail wind there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have controls? Just relax.
Controls.
You have controls. And you know, I'm having you do all three, but if you think that you would gain more by having just one, that's okay. You still got it. You still
Woo!
You have controls?
I have the controls.
You have controls. Now, if you have anything, it'll be a right crosswind, which is much easier to deal with than a left crosswind. We can explain that on our way home. This is 100% you. But that's the last thing you want to do. Remember, you got this big tail behind you?
Yeah.
So, hey, Gallenberg, 8 Kilo Romeo's on the active runway, Gallenberg. You have controls?
Yeah, I have the controls.
You have controls.
Get out of whack somebody.
Yeah. You got it. I'm just gonna. We can go down the runway. That's fine. Just those big inputs, though.
Yeah.
So watching that fella there struggle just to try whenever he got the full control, or even if he had just like one of the controls there, he struggled to even try to keep the aircraft hovering in one spot, or even to do anything really. It's a clever balancing act you constantly having to do. So as I said, just for a helicopter to hover in one spot, that pilot is constantly correcting 3 or 4 different things all at the same time just to maintain one spot. So something like the rotation of the Earth, which is 15 degrees in 1 hour, is negligible to the aircraft. He's compensating for so many different things so fast. The last thing in his mind is going to be the rotation of the Earth. That's nothing for the helicopter pilot. A breeze, just trying, a crosswind, nose wind, tailwind, just any kind of factors coming around, just to maintain that craft even in constant flight on a calm day. There's so many things he's moving and little touches and little adjustments he's making that the curve, he's naturally going to be accounting for that 15 degrees in 1 hour. That's nothing. 15 degrees in 1 hour for him to sit there and just try to maintain that. That's going to be natural. Remember, he's looking out the, 100 feet out in front of him to see that he's going to see stuff. He's following that. If he can make that spot stay straight, he's like that, fixing on that. And if he can keep that steady, guess what he's looking at? He's looking at the Earth. He's maintaining that spot and trying to maintain hovering. So, yeah, the Flat Earth is trying to say, just because a helicopter can hover in the air, this proves the rotation of the Earth. No, it doesn't. The pilot has to control that thing at all times, every single second, of every single microsecond he's in flight. He's controlling and making micro adjustments and adjusting the aircraft every single second. That 15 degrees per hour is nothing for him. That's the least of his worries. So, this was stupidest for an example. Flat Earthers try to rely on this and think it's like the gotcha. It's nothing. It's just like the same thing of like saying, why do planes not count for the curvature of the Earth for flying? It's a pilot. They have control surfaces. For that slight little dip they have to do to maintain that isn't kind of gravity isn't already doing for them, or the fact that the plane going to fly so high because it'll stall up because there won't be enough air to maintain flight. Or for the engines to have enough air to be able to maintain thrust. Just that alone, that plane is just going to only go so high, and then it's just going to keep curving over because it's going to only go maintain so much. It's not going to create any more lift because there's not enough air, and engines aren't going to create any more thrust because there's not enough atmosphere, not enough air to push through. You need to kind of know how jet engines and how planes work before you start making criticisms like that. And once again, the pilot makes micro adjustments on his heading all the time, and autopilot does. You ever seen an autopilot? When they let go, the autopilot's actually making slight adjustments. Heck, autopilots nowadays can land a bloody plane. So, you ever seen a plane land nose down? No, they land nose up. The reason is to maintain that lift and maintain that approach angle. So, all their things about flight mechanics, flight earthers need to actually learn something. I'm not even a flight engineer or a pilot, and I seem to have a freaking vast majority of information that no flat earther seems to have.
The rotation of the Earth and the atmosphere it shouldn't be uniform. The circumference of this is smaller than the circumference of the outside tire, right?
Alright, I'm not exactly sure what South Africa is trying to say there at the end there. And then him spinning his little bicycle tire there, saying something about the spin of that. I mean, like I said before, the Earth spins, the Earth's rotation is 15 degrees per hour, or 360 degrees spin in 24 hours. So if he wants to try to simulate that, tell him to take that little tire that he's spinning there and spin it so that it does one full revolution in 24 hours. And then South Africa, tell me, how fast is that? So there you have it. I've completely destroyed and debunked this whole entire video. It's just a little crap. It was actually quite low-hanging fruit and quite easy. Yeah, I actually showed real-world evidence, explained everything perfectly. It all works in the globe. Flat Earth is nothing but a fallacy, a fantasy, and it's just a bunch of hogwash. It's just all it's really meant for is to confound and confuse people who have very little knowledge of anything to do with engineering, physics, or sciences, and they try to just talk a lot really fast, and they hope to confuse somebody to make them think that maybe that they've been deceived. I think some of these people, they weren't the smartest to begin with, and the fact is, if they can find something that makes them feel like they're special, and they have some special knowledge, then it makes them feel good about themselves. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow me for more videos. Just keep crushing the Flat Earthers, and I can't wait to see all the Flat Earth tears in the comments on this one. Thanks for watching.
The sweetness of the fluff tears is fantastic.
Ah, yes. The good stuff. Always sweeten my coffee with the tears of flurfs.